Hi, I'm Dean.
And I'm Chris, and together we host In the Doll's House.
We're both really excited about recording the first episode as we cover the beginning of our parenting journey with the lead up to birth.
This means everything from deciding to have children all the way through to the birth plan, where we find out that even the best planning doesn't mean that your little angel agrees.
So get your brew ready and get settled in and join us in the Doll's House. Right, Chris, the first bit we're going to talk about is deciding to have children. So, what was your situation? Was it a planned situation? How did you decide together that this is what you wanted to do?
So, essentially, myself and my wife were together for about 18 months, and we got married whilst we were out in Dubai. So, that was at the point where we were sort of planning the long term. So yeah, definitely children were always going to be on the cards, but it wasn't a case of like we were strictly trying to actually try to get pregnant. It was just like, yeah, we both want children, and if it happens, it's great. It's just that there wasn't any kind of set deadline for it. So it was always going to be on the cards. I'm trying to think, the actual kind of time between us actually getting married and sort of conceiving, really. So yes, it was always going to be planned. What about yourself? Do you? I
mean, I remember it wasn't dead long, was it? Since you got married, because I remember being at the wedding.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a long time after that until you messaged in. We've got a group message thing, and you messaged in our group to say that you were going to be having a baby.
Guess what? Yeah, because everything just seemed so. Because obviously it was like during the lockdown as well, so everything was a bit manic anyway. So yeah, there wasn't a huge amount of time between the actual pregnancy. In fact, our pregnancy happened. Our wedding happened 2 weeks before lockdown. So
yeah, I remember that well.
Yeah, it's really
that was you cut that fine.
Yeah, we sort of got home back to Dubai, and then the following. So that was about the Friday, I think, and then the following Saturday, it was like, yeah, this is happening. So there's. Lockdown. So I was like, yeah, this is happening. So we had to sort of, run into school, get everything that we needed for his jobs, and then, then come back. So yeah, it kind of happened at that point. We sort of had the conversation where we weren't going to stop it from happening, but yeah, definitely sort of, it was planned. It wasn't a case of it being sort of a little accident like. So yeah, we were really happy, and I think it was probably one of the best ways of doing it, because I can imagine if you are trying and it doesn't happen, then it can be quite stressful. So yeah, it just kind of happened really, really naturally, and then before you know it, I had this sort of wet stick being flung in my face, and I wasn't entirely sure what it went to start with, because I wasn't quite with it. It's like, oh, okay, oh right, amazing. So yeah, that's our little story leading up to actually finding out that we were. Well, I say we, that my wife was pregnant. How about yourself? So was that a planned thing? Did you have a time frame?
So for me, it was a bit of a strange one. So we've been together for a little while. We're not married. We're still not married. We're engaged now, but we're not married.
Congratulations.
Cheers. For me, it was a really tough decision, to be honest. I was a bit older, and I was unsure about whether I wanted children. My partner decided that she definitely did, and I was quite unsure, because I was quite happy with like my life how it was, and it was a lot of thinking about it. So I'd researched no end on whether this was what I wanted to do, and I'd thought about it a lot. And in the end, it was chatting to friends that had already got children that sort of made me think, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do. But it took a lot of time for me to decide this was what I wanted.
What was it that was kind of not holding you back so much, but was the question mark over, which obviously the age thing, but is it a case of it was, say, going into primary school or high school, or, when they're 20, you might be however old, sort of 60 or something. Was that the issue? Or was it more like the mechanics of it all, the biology of it all, it all sort of...
I think it was partly lifestyle more than anything else, to be honest. And not wanting to give up the things that I enjoyed doing. And I thought that I was going to have to give up everything that I enjoyed doing to be able to have children and do a good job of that, as it were.
Yeah.
I mean, since I've found out that's obviously not the case, but you've just got to plan things really well to be able to fit in those things that you want to do as well. But yeah, it took me a long time to think this is definitely what I want. And it was chatting to, like I say, a lot of my friends that had got children already that sort of made me think, actually, I know these guys wouldn't want to give up everything that they were doing previously, and they weren't giving everything up. So it was almost a bit selfish, really, I suppose, the way I was thinking about it. And in the end, I was like, yeah, well, actually, this is what I want to do. But for me, in my head, I had to be absolutely 100% sure about it before I jumped in and went, yeah, because I knew there's obviously no turning back once you've got a little person. You've got a little person.
Yeah.
So but now we're in the situation where she's here. I wouldn't change anything about it. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of thinking for me to make that definite decision.
Was there ever a thought of you having kids, even before you're like obviously the current situation, and you know, just like growing up and going into young adulthood and so on? Was there ever a thought about, you know, I'd like to be a dad at some point, or did that just not come across your mind until the actual conversations that you had with your partner?
I think when I was younger, I always thought I would have kids, and then I suppose as I got older and I'd not got them, I was thinking, well, maybe this isn't the right path for me now, because I'm quite well. I was getting to what I was probably around 40 when we decided that was what we were going to do. So I was getting on for a dad, I suppose. Not obviously really old, and a lot of people do have children when they're a bit older, but for me it was definitely a factor, because now I'm 42. So by the time she's 18, I'll be 60.
Yeah.
So
well, I had a similar thought process myself.
Thing,
so I'm 38 now. So when she's kind of in primary school or whatever, and the biggest one for me was at sports day for primary school, and they get all the dads out to run. And I'm a bit crocked anyway with my dodgy back. I'm the oldest 38-year-old going, and I just think, like, if she's on the side, go daddy, and I'm like, I'll do my best, but that 80 meters is a considerable long way for somebody in my physical.
Oh, and they are competitive races as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah, everyone absolutely moves.
So that's the main one for me. I think it was nothing really grown up
more
about
like sports day.
Yeah, just that one very specific one day that might never happen.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, that was this kind of thing that was going on for me. You know, because I thought, you know, so I was 35 when my daughter joined us, so I know I'm not necessarily the oldest parent in the world, but there was definitely those kind of things coming to, you know, in the back of my mind, thinking, right, am I going to be all right with this sort of age-wise? You know, I was ready to kind of make this.
With the sports day thing, you could always try and influence them to do the throwing the tea bag in the cup rather than the
unbelievable
80-meter dash.
Yeah, that was something. Yeah. I think with being a tea lover and also being a fan of the darts, putting those three together. Yeah, I do love chucking a tea bag. So if that comes out, I'm like, sign us up. Involves running? No, thank you.
Yeah.
Like if we did like the egg and
running is not for the older dad.
The egg and the spoon race comes around, the frigging thing will be hatched by the time I'd finished. You could poach it or something. So yeah. So yeah, I guess that. So once you kind of decided that this was the journey that you were both going to go on together, what was that kind of that period up to? Obviously, that conception, and then kind of obviously onto obviously the birth plan, as we mentioned. What was that sort of journey like for you?
It was strange to start off with, because we were like, yeah, this is what we're going to do, and then we started sort of working in that direction, and it wasn't too long before we found out that my partner had fallen pregnant. So that was quite good. It was really positive, and it was quite a quick thing. We thought it was going to take a while because she's got PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, which means it can be harder to conceive. She fell pregnant quite quick, but then within 5 or 6 weeks she'd had a miscarriage. So that was pretty rough. I mean, it was probably better that it was early on than later on. But at the same time, it's not a nice thing for anybody to have to go through.
Definitely not.
So it's something that, I mean, I was really shocked. I was at work when I found out, and so I got back to her and just had to comfort her as much as I could and sort of say, well, yeah, this might be one attempt, but it doesn't mean that we can't carry on trying, which is what we did.
Yeah. What was the time period between you finding finding out that you've had the miscarriage and deciding that we'll try again? Was that a lengthy time that you took between the two?
It wasn't long, to be honest. It was quite short. It wasn't something that got in the way too much of us deciding that was our end goal. That's what we wanted to do and moving in that direction. So it wasn't a long period of time at all. Maybe sort of 4-6 weeks, probably maximum, I'd say. So yeah, you just carry on. There's nothing else you can do. It's one of those things where it's rough when it happens, but you've just got to get through that and then move on to the next bit, as it were, and just keep trying.
Can you remember the I suppose the second time around when you find out that you both fell pregnant again? Can you remember when that happened?
Yeah, that was different that time round. So when we found out we were pregnant the second time, we were on holiday.
Right.
So we didn't think that was going to happen that quick. So we were... Well, in fact, it was a long time between the two. That's a different story altogether. I mean, I can go into that bit as well. It was... So we struggled to conceive the second time, and we went to see a specialist. We paid privately to go and see a specialist, and just to speed the process up. And he gave us loads of advice. I went for various tests. My partner went for various tests. And eventually he put my partner on a medication that would help a little bit, and it did. It was quite quick at helping. So it basically kept her cycles regular, which is a problem with PCOS. Right. You don't necessarily have regular cycles. Okay. So it kept her regular, which meant it was easier for us to then conceive. So I had some problems as well. So I had to have a sperm test. And one of the problems that I had was that the heads of my sperm weren't all the right shape. Right. So it meant that they weren't all necessarily going in the right direction at the right time. Okay. So that was nice. That was nice to get told.
I'll be honest with you. I've never heard that as a thing. So
yeah, I can't remember what it was called.
Did some have like a square head, and it's like when you got those building blocks or those toys that you've got where you've got to get the right shape through the right shaped hole. Is it like that? So when obviously you get to the egg, it's a bloody round hole here. I'm knackered. All the square and rectangles ones were turning around. Like, don't bother, mate.
I think they were just swimming in the wrong directions because they couldn't see where they were going, and I'm not really sure how it was. But that was another bit of a problem that we found out that it might prevent us from conceiving, or it might make things a bit trickier.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at your medical concerns. So sorry there.
Well, no, it's all right. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, you've only got to get one that goes in the right direction.
Yeah, so just that one with the map and a compass.
Yeah, map and a compass and a bit of goodwill, and off they go.
It sounds so easy. I think so. We're due our second in May. We're about week 24, I think we're through, and not oddly, but the fact that this one was definitely planned. It's like, we really thought, right, we're going to do it, and we're going to do it now, sort of thing. It was more, more planned, more kind of like, we're going to spend. We're actually physically doing as much as we can to make sure that we can get pregnant. And I don't know whether it was like the extra, the mindset you're in or the pressure. So it did take us a little longer to actually get through. No, it seems that's not the right turn of phrase.
I think you can put too much pressure on yourself. I think you definitely can put too much pressure on yourself, and it makes the whole process harder. Like if you're trying to schedule when you're doing things and trying to make sure you're doing things X amount of times a week, you can sometimes think like, well, this is a lot of pressure, and you try your best to make it so that you're not putting pressure on yourself, because that's the last thing you want to do. Yeah, I mean, so with this one being sort of strictly more planned for you, had you planned it to the extent of you wanted to have another one when your first one was a certain age, or planned as in this just seemed like the right time sort of thing?
Yeah, it was definitely the last one. So, as I say, our eldest, she is 3 at the moment, so she'll be 3.5 when the new one comes. who's also a girl. So it's 3 now. We think there's a good age gap. A lot of it, unfortunately, comes down to whether you can afford to do it, because obviously the cost of living and the
That's a massive thing, isn't it?
yeah. So the cost of like childcare, it's pretty much 80% of one of our salaries to be able to put our daughter through. I was going to say through college. Then she's not quite that clever. Through nursery and that. So that was a big part of it. We're both like secure in our jobs and stuff, and there was a bit of that. So yeah, definitely that was it. It's definitely the right time for us to at least try. And part of it was, again, we were really lucky, the fact that we conceived pretty quickly and without too much pressure last time. So we knew that it might not necessarily happen as quickly the second time around. But so yeah, it was definitely a case of, right, we're ready now. But I definitely think 2 will be enough. I think this will be a culmination of
2's enough.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, I think for us, we've decided that 1 is where we're stopping, and I think it's mostly down to age, really. And also my partner had a bit of it wasn't the pregnancy that was rough, but the pregnancy triggered other things,
right?
Like medical things that meant she ended up in hospital a few times. Which wasn't obviously much fun when you're pregnant and then you're in hospital for 4 or 5 days at a time, because it's making you unwell.
I suppose with the added stress as well of obviously going through what you did before, every twinge, every feeling kind of rough, and everything will be heightened by 10 times it would do normally. Obviously it's not very nice in any situation, but the fact that you've gone through what you went through before is going to think, right, okay, is the same happening again? That must have been awful, especially for the 9 months like you're obviously going through.
Well, I think that leads really nicely onto talking about scans, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of scans. So even as early as like 5 or 6 weeks, we had, as like the earliest you could have a scan.
Yeah.
We had one just to see like what was going on and make sure everything was okay. And that was the first time for me where it felt very real, I suppose, because actually you're hearing a heartbeat and you're going, oh yeah, this is real. This is, yeah, that was a bit emotional. It was like really special, that was, I suppose. And then we went for quite a few other scans as well, just as checkups as we were going through. So we went for a few private ones, and obviously you have your ones that are with the NHS as well. The private ones were for peace of mind for us more than anything else, I think. Just to know that things were progressing okay and that everything was going well. And I think it was a bit of worry from what had happened previously, but also it's quite exciting as well. Like when you're going for a scan, and you get to hear the heartbeat, you get to see an image, and sometimes you can even make out what's on the image, which is which is pleasant.
What's the name of the medical professional does the scanning? I can't remember what they're called. Their professional name. We'll call her Sandra. But when she's scanning through and said, "This is the head over here," and I'm nodding, I've not a clue what's going on. I'm looking at a big screen.
On some of the scans, you can see what's going on, can't you? I mean, there was one scan where we went. I think we went for a couple of private ones, and one of them offered a 4D image.
Yeah,
we were like, "Oh, this is going to be amazing." So I was like, a 3D image probably would have been enough for me. I'm not really sure what a 4D image is, if I'm absolutely honest.
They flick water at you.
Then this 4D image appears, and it's the back of a head, which is great. And it looks like some sort of alien spaceship. Yeah. And you're like, and she's like, this is this bit. And I'm thinking, all I'm thinking is like alien spaceship.
Yeah.
I can't get that out of my head.
I hope this one gets cuter, because it's going to be difficult.
Yeah. But I mean, the other scans were all good, and as it gets big, like the baby gets bigger, you can obviously work out what more things are.
Yeah.
Because we had scans till quite late in the pregnancy as well, and you can pretty much see a fully formed baby at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, how were your scans? What did you do? Did you have any private ones? Did you have any?
So when we was out in
obviously NHS ones.
Yeah. So when we were out in Dubai, because although we were married, we at that point we'd both decided that we were going to come home anyway, so we hadn't bothered getting our marriage certificate attested to make everything kind of legal over there. So although we weren't in any danger of kind of being getting into any serious trouble, it just meant that I wouldn't have been in a position where I can go into the room with the scans. So obviously I could take my wife to the hospital and that, but obviously during lockdown as well, it was doubly complicated, because out in Dubai, for you to be able to go anywhere, you had to download an app, and you had to book a specific time slot for you to be able to leave the house. And if you were caught without that sort of a time slot booked, there could have been a little bit of trouble. So I could go to the actual scan, but I wasn't allowed into the actual room where they did the scan. So I just kind of waited there while all these pictures were taken, and then she came out and then showed me, and I was none the wiser as to what. So I knew it was a baby. I knew we were pregnant because we had the stick. But so the first time around, it was a bit disappointed, because the only scan I could go to was right at the very end before we left. So we had a scan not so it wasn't like a
this is still in Dubai?
Yes, this was in Dubai. So the first scan we had was, as I say, it was amazing, because she wasn't fully developed. I couldn't tell you what week she was. I think maybe 20, I think. For when that scan, so the heart was pumping, you could see all the blue and the reds where the heart was forming, and she was moving about a bit as well. So that was the first one. So all that time where you want to be part of that experience and hold the hand in case there was any news that was wasn't overly positive. But luckily, everything was going swimmingly, so to speak. But then obviously with this one, our second child, I've been to all of them. So we've done exactly the same. So
you've had the whole process, which is really nice.
Exactly. So we were all, we also decided that we wanted to do the early scan. So I think we got one maybe about 12 weeks. I think 12, 13 weeks. We went into a private clinic, and as I said, you had all these screens on the walls. So it was and if the best thing about it,
it's really nice, isn't it?
We could take my daughter with us as well. I might have to play now. So I could take our daughters there as well. So we could she was getting really excited the fact that she's going to have a baby sister, and then obviously, so you had the screen in front of you and another screen to the left hand side. It essentially showed the same bits, and I wasn't overly convinced that the screen in reception wasn't showing it as well. Just like people were popcorn. So these scans, I've been able to go to all of them, and still not entirely sure what I'm looking at, but it is dead nice out there. And I think the added bonus of having my daughter there as well, being dead excited, you can hear the heartbeat and stuff. She's getting really excited, and which kind of, increases the amount that we're getting excited as well. So this time around it's a lot easier because I can be there. But first time it was you're not really sure if everything's okay until my wife comes back out.
That's got to be nerve-wracking. Sitting and waiting.
You do. It's the first time where you and there's a lot of this being a parent. I think my first advice as being a dad is the dad up until this point, really, you're fairly useless. You've done your bit, so you've just got to be there as a support mechanism, really. And as I wasn't able to do that at that time, if we did go through any bad news, it's horrendous that my wife had to go through that on her own. But as I said, really lucky that all the scans were positive. So we didn't have that. So we have to kind of count our blessings, really, that everything was all right. So it was a bit awkward, not being able to go. But as I said, it was, the outcome was still the same, isn't it? I suppose
part of it as well, of the whole being the dad sort of side of it, is that once you've done your bit and your partner's pregnant, you are their main support, and you try and help them as much as you possibly can with everything you can possibly help with to make things easier, because it's not easy, is it?
No, honestly, I know growing up it's always women are the strongest sex, I think, and you always kind of disagree. I know men are, but until obviously you go through pregnancy, you just think actually we're fairly useless. The start of it,
we're the secondary part in this film.
Well, we're pretty kind of involved at the start. I'd like to think it was, and then up until obviously the birth, you just if your wife's feeling rough, you try and do as much as you can, but ultimately you can go down and get sort of paracetamol, or you can cook and you can clean around the house, but you're just powerless to be able to take that feeling away, because I know it's so uncomfortable. You just feel disgusting. You realize really doubts about your physical look and mental anxiety and things like that, and you really are useless as a father, other than being caring and just being there for you. You just want to be able to take it all away and just make it really nice, or go in a time machine and be like, bang, there you go, there's 9 months, you're due tomorrow. We just can't do that. And
that'd be better, wouldn't it? That'd be the ultimate solving of the problem.
Yeah, it just takes too long.
That could be our first money making opportunity from the podcast.
Yeah, like
design a machine to take you forward 9 months.
Or it'll just be like the Matrix, where they're just grown in a pod.
Yeah.
You just go visit it every now and again.
When do you know which one's yours, though? I mean, that's going to be hard work, isn't it? Working that out.
I'd have thought that, if they've got the technology to be able to grow a child in a pod, hopefully they've got their admin sorted. So I think that'll be all right.
That's true. You'd have to have some serious admin skills.
Yes, the year is 2050, but we still use Excel spreadsheets.
So scans wise then, did you have a scan to find out the gender?
So the second time around we did. So we specifically booked a gender reveal scan. But I think
you do that privately then?
Yeah. So did that privately.
Yeah.
Went the same sort of place. Like they've seen like.
Oh, did it have the same as the one I had? Because we went to one that was. It sounded very similar to yours with the screens on the wall and stuff.
Probably. I think
did they do a thing where they just told you?
Yeah.
Or did they have a thing where like lights flashed up?
That's what I had in my head. I thought they'd press a button and they go like pink confetti will come out and the lights will go pink.
That's what happened at the one I went to.
Seriously?
Not even joking. Yeah. So we went to a gender reveal scan because we were both dead excited and we just wanted to do it. So we'd had a bit of a gift and it was some money, so we were like, well, let's spend it on that. So we went for a private scan and we were sat in the waiting room, and obviously in the waiting room for these private places you've got all sorts of things you can buy for like gender reveal stuff. And you can have like you can buy like the confetti cannons and all sorts of stuff like that. And they've also got like things that like teddy bears that you can have the heartbeat put into.
Yeah.
So they'll record the heartbeat and put that into a teddy bear.
They offered us that as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we did the heartbeat one because we thought that was kind of cool, but the gender reveal stuff we did very differently. But when we were in that room, so we went in, and this is something we've not talked about actually. With the scans, did you ever? Well, not you. But did your wife ever have to do something a bit daft to make sure the baby was in the right position?
Oh, so 100%. So,
yeah.
First of all, you have to go in with is it a full bladder? Just so it acts like a cushion.
Yeah, full bladder.
But, without kind of obviously seeing the child, so we don't know how closely, they're going to be, like, do they look the same or whatever, but definitely they were both in awkward positions. So Eden was always in a tricky position, and we'll cover that again when we talk about the actual birth. But yeah, so Eden was quite low, but yeah, this one at the moment is really, really low. So they have to prod and so it was a bit like she was strapped. So my wife was strapped to like the not the table, but like the what they lie on to be scanned, and they tip her upside down, and I'm like, I am so sorry you've got to go through this. This is a horrible feeling just to try and tip the baby's like, Christ. You just saw the scan inside was holding on for dear life. It was like go through some kind of roller coaster. But yeah, you have to go through this.
See, that's the bit that I'm always a bit confused by, because you're not allowed on roller coasters if you're pregnant, are you?
Well, this poor
then you go to find out the sex of your baby and you end up on a roller coaster.
Yeah. Don't look down. Yeah. So yeah, so you have to kind of, and there's a lot of prodding and pressing, which it must be so uncomfortable.
Oh, with a full bladder can't be fun either.
But then he said, so we've got in the body. Can you go and empty your bladder? So he was like, all right, okay. So yeah, there was a lot of that just to try and get it in the right position, so you can get all the scans for like heartbeat and what's going on in the back, and doing the test for the fluid in the back of the neck. So yeah, honestly, she's been put in all sorts of positions, and that was just the conception.
See, my partner, when we went for our scans, there was quite a few times where she was asked to jump up and down or run on the spot, as well as being turned upside down on the bed.
It's like one of those NASA program kind of, I'm surprised I didn't see it. Like, we're going to go up to 7G now, so spin around us, like, see what's going on. But no, we never had that.
Yes, no, it was like Joe Wicks was in the room with us. It was a bit strange. Yeah.
So, so talk,
Yeah, there's a few situations with that.
so talk us through the actual kind of reveal then. So what was that actually like when you found out?
Back to that. So yeah, so we went into this private room, and there was a big screen on the wall, and there was a big screen next to the lady who was doing the scan, and she said, right, so what's going to happen is we're going to look at the gender. She said, I'm going to look a few times just so that I can be sure. She said, sometimes you can't always get it because obviously sometimes it's going to be very hard to. So they obviously do their best to get it, but they can't always guarantee. She said that she was 100% sure before she did revealed whether it was a boy or a girl to us. I mean, obviously you know how this story is going to end. But yeah, she said when I reveal it to you, it's going to flash up on the screen, and behind the screen we've got blue and pink lights. And she said the lights will come on in the right colour to show you whether it's a boy or a girl. For blue for a boy, obviously pink for a girl. So she was like, "Are you ready?" And we're like, "Yeah." And then it felt like quite a long time. It probably wasn't at all. It was quite quick, but yeah. Then it flashed up with these pink lights behind, and it was really quite emotional. It was yeah. My partner was in tears because I think she really wanted a girl,
Right.
Which I can completely understand. And I was like, I'm not bothered what colour it is. It can be a blue or it can be a pink. It doesn't matter to me as long as the baby's in there, the baby's healthy, I'm all good. And I know she really wanted a girl, so she was chuffed to bits. So yeah, it was quite a cool way of doing it, though.
Well, ours wasn't.
I mean, they don't have the lights of the NHS, do they? When you go there, so.
No. So ours wasn't even like that exciting. So obviously with our first child, the gender reveal was just my wife kind of. I was waiting in the car. I think at that point, I don't think I was allowed in the waiting room for some reason. So I was in the car, and she was like, "We found out the gender. Do you want to know?" I was like, "Yeah, 100%." And she told me. So obviously, in a minute, obviously later on we'll talk about whether we wanted boys or girls. But either way, I was like over the moon. So we found out that way, and then with the recent one, they were just kind of scanning through, and Rachel, my wife, had sort of said, "Yeah, the lights will come on when to reveal the gender." So I'm like, "This is gonna be amazing! Can't wait for that." And then the kind of practitioner was just scanning around. There's the legs, there's the heart, and there are the 3 lines. And they were like, "Oh my god, amazing!" And I'm like, "What's that mean? 3 lines?" I'm none the wiser here, and then obviously I explained what it was.
Oh, you were thinking England football shit, weren't you?
3 lines. Here we go. Yeah, 3 lines. What does that mean? I'm, not used to the medical kind of setup downstairs. What does that mean? And then obviously find out that we were having a second girl. So yeah, that no lights, no nothing. Unfortunately. Yeah, but I it would have been nice, I suppose. But at the end of the day, the kind of the emotions of finding out, obviously having a second daughter, just kind of takes over, really. So in relation to your gender reveal, did you have any plans to do like they have those full on talk about like the smoke grenade and things like that? Did you have any plan on how you'd reveal?
Well, we talked about it. So we talked about doing a gender reveal. We'd not really decided how we wanted to do it before we found out the gender. So it was something that we talked more about afterwards. Because we were going to keep it quiet for a little bit and then tell people just afterwards. So we just did like a balloon pop type thing, and we did 2 of them. So we did one Michelle, one of my partner's relatives up in. So we did one at one set of grandparents' houses. And then one at another set of grandparents' houses with the other ones on a video call. So yeah, it was quite good fun.
So when we did the actual reveal, as I said, like we middle of lockdown, so every Sunday we used to have a Zoom quiz like you did. It was either Banana Bread, Joe Wicks, and Zoom quiz. So we used to have a Zoom quiz every week with my wife's dad's side of the family, so there was a few of us joining, and her brother and his now wife were in Australia at the time, and they had somebody else who was kind of travelling around with them. So every week they were deducted points because he'd had an extra member of the team on there. So we went through this whole quiz. And then, like, we timed it. Actually, we didn't mean it to time it so perfectly, but we timed it so well. It was like coming to the end of the Zoom, and we were just like, "Oh, unfortunately, we're going to have to be deducted a couple of points because we're playing with an extra player." And then obviously showed the scan of the picture, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" Zoom end. So that's
that's
how we
cool.
kind of did that reveal. That was pretty cool. But then
That's a well thought out reveal.
yeah, it was kind of sort of
Yeah.
on the cuff, but it was like, should we do it, sort of thing. So yeah, that way, and then when we obviously find out the gender of our second child, we obviously told our daughter, and she was like really excited. She's having a baby sister. So the way we kind of revealed it was like every Friday she goes with her nan, and she was like came through, and we were like, Eden, what's in Mum's tummy? And she went, baby sister, like that, and that was pretty cool. So yeah, so we haven't done any of the kind of the smoke grenades or the spray paint or anything like that. We've just kind of just told people, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's not something that kind of crept up as an idea.
I suppose I think like a big gender reveal it's a nice idea. It's not a necessity though, is it? It's something that you can do without, because you can guarantee that when you tell people that you're having a baby, they're not bothered about whether it's a boy or a girl.
Yeah.
They just want it to be a successful pregnancy and you to be healthy and them to be healthy. So that's kind of
I suppose it
the main
boils down
things
to
everybody wants out of it.
the whole kind of social media side and get as many likes as you can. It's not, those gender reveals aren't for the people that are there, it's for the people that you can see online. So there is a little bit of that.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So
And, I mean, there's plenty you can watch online that have gone wrong, isn't there? So
yeah, it's
Yeah.
purple.
yeah.
So like, the last kind of things that we're going to cover then is, well, first of all, we'll talk about, you know, what your initial reactions were to finding out you were going to be a daddy of a little girl, and then, you know, leading up to kind of, did you have any plans for the kind of the birth? So obviously when you the lights were flashing and it was pink, and then obviously thinking up to, you know, this is it. And then what were your thoughts behind you being a dad of a daughter?
So this is a bit of a strange one, actually, because I really wasn't bothered about the gender. The only thing that I thought was, if it's a boy, I might understand it a bit more because I'm one. And that was literally it. But it was all I wanted was a healthy baby. That was kind of my thoughts on it. I wasn't bothered whether it was a boy or a girl. So for me, it was just, as long as the baby was healthy, that was the main thing. Yeah, aside from that, I was like, healthy baby. That was it. That was all that was in my head. I mean, what about you? I mean,
so it's always
were you thinking that because I know that you love your football.
Yeah, so it was always a case of like, well, there was two things really, and so the big one was fundamentally I was never issue, like there was never going to be an issue. It would be quite nice to obviously carry on the name, the bloodline sort of thing. But more importantly, Project Mbappe.
Yeah.
So Project Mbappe was going to be like, yeah, we're going on. And all the way through the kind of the pregnancy, I was like joking, and I probably shouldn't because it was stressing my wife out. I said, if it's a boy, we're taking it back. Sorry, if it's a girl, we're taking it back. So she had it in her head that, you know, I definitely want a boy. And if it's anything but a boy, I'm going to be really annoyed. So that's why she was a little bit kind of reticent to tell me when she obviously had the scan for the first time around that, you know, it's a girl. She was like, are you all right? I was like, yeah, of course I am. You know, I was only joking. It's like, we're actually going to take a baby back because I'm not Henry VIII. You know, chop your head off. And then second time around, you just think, actually, logistically, it's a lot easier if we have two girls because we've got all the stuff for the first one. So we haven't got to go, right, you know, buy new clothes or what have you. And yeah, they're probably going to fall out, but, you know, and... You know, I'm sure they
yeah,
do.
But a boy and a girl would fall out, and two boys
definitely
would fall out. I mean, I don't think there's any way around that, is there?
No.
Let's be honest.
No.
There's going to be times where they argue, and that's just it.
Very much looking forward to dealing with like a load of strappy teenagers going around the house. And obviously when sort of the biology kicks in as well, it's like, okay, I've got to prepare myself. I need to look up about that, to be honest with you. That's my own weakness. So, you know, I need to be there to be able to support sort of around 15, 16, 17, you know, when they go through the change. But that's, you know, something I need to be better at.
Yeah. I think that's something that you look at closer to the time, though, isn't it? I mean, things might have changed by then as well, I suppose, to a certain extent, about the way that teenagers are. So it's one of those things that kids evolve all the time, and as much as you read up about them, sometimes it's medical advice, but sometimes it's people's opinions, and sometimes it's what they've experienced. I mean, like what we've experienced might not be the same as what others have experienced. So it's hard to give advice when you've not experienced it like that in the first place.
No, definitely not. So yeah, 100%. The gender reveal wasn't an issue. It's all about healthy and you know, and when it's going to be due and things like that. So, in relation to kind of the last thing that we'll talk about in episode number 1 is, did you have any plans for the birth, or anything that you or your wife had specifically wanted to happen, like leading up to the birth and then actually on the delivery date itself?
Well, I mean, part of what you do when you're getting ready is you make a birth plan. So within all your NHS paperwork, you get a birth plan, don't you? That you fill out, which I'm sure you'll be doing soon for number 2 arriving.
Yeah.
And within that, it asks all sorts of things. So we knew that we were going to be going for a planned C-section.
Yeah.
And there was a few medical reasons for that, but yeah, we don't need to go into those. But we knew that was going to be part of the plan. And apart from that, there's a load of medical things that are written down in your birth plan, like things like allergies, things like pain relief things, and what to do about, like, if you're feeling sick and things like that. Mm-hmm. So there's all of that gets written down there, and there's a lot about the pregnancy in general that gets written in there. But there's one bit in there that I really liked the sound of, which was, what music would you like playing whilst it's all happening? So I was like, right, shall we make a playlist? So we sat down and we made a playlist together, which included songs that we both like. It included some songs that my partner likes and some songs that I like. So that was really good. And then when it came to it, the birth plan's a bit different when you actually come to the point of being ready for birth. Yeah. And I don't even know what music was playing. It definitely wasn't what we chose. It's a bit more, the focus is on the baby coming out. It's not on breathe, whatever else is going on around you.
Track 2. So, should be track 2.
Hold on. You're making the first incision. We need track 7 on now. That's where we should be. Yeah. So it's all a bit different. I suppose planning wise, we'd planned a lot leading up to the birth, and I suppose we'll go into some of that in the other episodes. But I mean, the main thing about the planning element is making sure you've got your bag ready to go.
Yeah.
And we'll cover in one of the next episodes, I think it's in the next episode actually, what you will take to hospital with you, what, as a dad as well, what's good to take, because obviously there's a lot of information out there for mums on what to take to hospital for them and for the baby. But as a dad, you don't know what to take personally for yourself, I suppose. And there are some things that are very useful, especially if you end up staying overnight.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll cover that in a different episode. But I suppose planning wise, the main thing is you've just got to be there and make sure that you can grab that bag on the way out the door. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what about you? I mean, how much were you planning on the lead up to everything going off?
As far as I know, and you know, I'm not really one for planning. And maybe my wife might have been, but just kind of kept me.
To be fair,
yeah, she might have been like planning it to the nth degree and just not telling me about it, because I'd be just like, I've got a job. Rachel, I know you're sort of in the middle of the most stressful part of your life, but I think I've forgotten something. So I don't think we had an official plan. I think we were going to have a natural birth. But you're saying about, like, you know, having to write down, allergies and stuff. So my wife's allergic to penicillin. And I'm so proud that I can remember that. Again, that's how useless my role in life. It's just the one thing I've got to go, she's allergic to something. Because
let's hope she's listening to this, because then you might get some brownie points. Yeah.
Penicillin, which is very dangerous. So you know, other than obviously making sure that was down, I don't think we had any massive plans. We're all about the drugs. We're definitely going to have the drugs, and I think she was going to have a few too. And we were going to go as natural as we can. So there was no water birth. There was no C-section planned or anything like that. It was just a case of we'll see what happens. And I think that the mindset that we kind of have is, if you plan too much, you're going to be disappointed if something doesn't go quite right. And that's just an extra stress on top of your wife, and then on the baby as well. So we just thought we'll keep it as simple as possible. again, much like the conception, to reduce the amount of times and things go. I don't even think we had a playlist. I don't think we had any music planned. I think we just kind of get there and see what happens, really. So yeah, and again, you know, in our next episode, does that happen? So nothing planned out. It was just a case of, you know, how do we get to the hospital as quickly as possible and go through there. But
yeah, I suppose that's something to think about as well, because a lot of people don't plan that. I mean, we're really lucky. We're literally sort of a 5-minute drive from the hospiel.
Yeah, we weren't even that. We were so close.
Yeah, I mean, if you live a distance from the hospital, you've really got to think about that.
Yeah, I'm not
and if
entirely
if
sure.
you think it's on the way, then get going.
Yeah, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
I'm not a great sense of direction anyway, which is, you know, an extra surprise as to why how we conceive so quickly. I'm not. I'm sort of know where the hospital is. We went there not so long ago. I've got to tell you, she's breathing in like that, and I've just put it into sat nav. What's the name of the hospital?
Just a second. Is there a postcode for the hospital? Do you know the postcode?
Yeah. Oh, and then I'm panicking as well. I don't want to press the right letter, but I'm not. We're going to Portsmouth apparently. That you know, I'm fairly certain I know where it is. But you know, again, even for this child that we're having, no plans at the moment. Although the due date is the end of May. I think we are actually, you know, I'd like it to be May the 16th because that's one of my favourite songs. So that's the only plan for me is you hold it in to the 16th. But yeah.
See, when we were originally given dates, one of the dates we were given was May the 4th.
Oh,
are you joking? Really?
Not even a Star Wars fan, but that is 1 out of 365. But that's the day you won't be on. Other than May, you don't want to be on Christmas, but May the 4th, and that's why we called him Luke. So that is the first episode of our little podcast. We've talked about the actual kind of process of getting pregnant. We've talked about the plans that we've had and the actual reveal of our gender. Next week, we're going to be talking about the actual delivery. So a massive thank you for joining us, and hope to see you again next time in the Doll's House.